Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Twenties Unlocked, where we have honest conversations about the things that matter most in our 20s: growth, purpose, mental health, faith, finances, and everything in between. Since June is Men's Mental Health Month, I wanted to have a conversation that hits a little deeper, one that's personal for me and for so many others, especially for those of us who come from communities where mental health is not something we really talk about freely. So today, I'm joined by my brother and friend Daniel Mvilla. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. How are
I'm
you?
doing great. I'm doing great. Daniel, he's a medical student at St. George University, and like me, he is a African and Christian. We're diving into what it means to be a man, to carry pressure silently, and to try and navigate mental health in a world and culture that doesn't always give us the space to do so. This is not a conversation with all the answers, but it's a start. And I hope it creates space for someone out there to feel seen, heard, and a little less alone. So without further ado, let's get into it. How you doing, bro? Thank you so much for coming into the show. I've been looking forward to this conversation, and I'm really super excited to get going. Just first of all, like, how are you? How things have been for you? And if you don't mind introducing yourself to people and what you do, where you're from, and why do you think this is important?
Thank you so much, first of all. Once again, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. I'm not gonna lie, the day when we have this conversation, we had this conversation and talk about this, the podcast, I was like, oh wow, such an honor. And yeah, so besides I'm doing great. I mean, right now I'm in Illinois. It's I think maybe 200
Yeah, it's
degrees
hot.
outside. It's super hot, but we're surviving, and plus I'm from Africa, so I'm kind of used to it, but I feel like you never get
Hmm.
used to it at this point. But besides, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, thank God. Daniel, just like I said, Daniel, I go by Danny, whatever works for people around
Hmm.
me. And I'm from Africa, Congo, big Congo, because there is two Congo. There's always
Good
like a
to
little
precise.
fights between us, and we are the biggest, Congo, the biggest Congo,
Hmm.
Kinshasa. That's where I'm originally from, but right now I live in the I live in the
Hmm.
U.S. and I'm a medical student in St. George University. And what else? I don't think there's much like a lot to say about myself so far, but yeah, that's pretty it. And I'm Christian as well, and just like you said, and yeah, I'm happy to be here, happy to share this because this is such a great topic. Because I think that the more we talk, we'll talk more about it, why it's so important. But yeah, like I'm excited to share this and to be part of this podcast. Thank you
Of
again,
course,
Dan.
bro. I remember I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, but I just didn't know who, like who to have it with. And then I remember you guys had a mental health kind of talk a few months ago with other people from the
I
community,
remember that.
and I was like, man, I really gotta get this brother on the podcast. So I'm really happy, excited. We're just gonna jump right in. Let's start with the basic, right? When you hear the
Uh-huh.
term mental health, what's the first thing that comes to your mind for you, both as a future doctor and as a man?
Think I'll say okay. We'll keep it simple. We have mental health. It's like two words combining
Hmm.
together. So I would like to define it like separately before I put them together. When we say health, based on the definition, like basic definition, we just know that health is the
Hmm.
overall condition of someone because we know human in general, we are made of three
Hmm.
parts: the body, the soul, and the mind.
Hmm.
And when we say health, it's basically just the condition of those three parts. And for mental, it's basically just a part of, I'll say part of human. Like just like I said, the human person is made of three parts: the body, the soul, and the mind.
Hmm.
And when we say mental, we already think about the mind.
Yeah.
So when we have to define the term mental health, it's basically talking about the condition of your
Yeah.
mind. Is it good? Is it sick? Like what condition is
Yeah.
it? So basically, that's the simple definition I can give it. As a man in general, and also as a medical student, that's kind of interesting to me because I remember when I first started medical school, before we even started getting in contact with
Hmm.
patient, they always try, and I think this is something that is done all around the world, like no matter where you go. Because not me, I'm in the U.S., but some people in Africa and all around the world, that is something that they teach us before we even get in contact with patient directly interaction. We try to understand like how is a human person, like how is he made of, like the three part, like the, just like I said previously, the body, the soul, and the mind. And we basically learn how to treat not just one part, but all three of them,
Right.
because we need to know that all those three parts are interconnected to each other. So sometimes it's a little mistake to just say, okay, I'm just gonna take care of the body and not pay attention to the mind or the soul. It's important to know that some disease, like a lot of them, you can see the manifestation, the physical aspect of the life, but the origin is from the mind or maybe the soul or maybe the
Wow.
spirit for some
Okay.
part. So I would say as a medical student, future doctor, pretty soon, please God,
Amen.
it's something super interesting to me when I hear mental health, because it's definitely something that as a doctor I need to take care of. And so yeah, that's pretty it. Like if I can say, like I'm really trying to keep it simple, because I know we might have people from all different like field. Not all of them will be like medical
Yeah.
people. You are not like in the medical and healthcare domain, so I'm trying to keep it
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. No, thank you for that explanation. Definitely like, you know, it's nice for someone to kind of make it easy because it's kind of we kind of complicate it sometimes. So it's definitely important to keep it simple. So you mentioned that you are
Oh yeah.
also from Africa. So, as an African myself, I kind of have an idea of the stigma behind mental health. And I know that it's something that, that's not really talked about a lot. So kind of talk about a little bit, growing up in an African culture, what were you taught, or told directly, or indirectly about your emotions or mental health?
I know it might shock some people who will hear what I'm about to say, but I'll say
Mm,
nothing. Till when I was 14 or maybe
mhm,
15, I didn't know anything about mental health in
mhm,
general.
mhm,
And at the same time, I don't really blame my
mhm,
parents or all those mentors, those people who were like there with us.
mm,
Because when you look back at the history, like in general, African culture, it's really made of two things. Like even our ancestors, they were really paying attention, like the traditional medicine.
mhm,
They were really paying attention to two things:
mm,
only the spiritual aspect of life
mm,
and the physical aspect of life.
mm,
Which means when they had to face or to deal with someone who is sick, it was only the origin is either spiritual, like a evil spirit or demonic
mhm,
spirit acting
mhm,
there, or it's maybe just your body. Let's say you have a fever or something like
mhm,
that. Back in the days, they were not really thinking about, okay, it's possible that someone can have depression.
mm.
For them, it was like, if someone wants to kill himself, it's gotta be
Mm.
a spirit who's telling him
Yep.
to do it. And that is something that is really like really deep in
Yep.
our culture. And the way, like thinking about it back in the days, the way I was thinking, like when I think about it right now, I remember that we could not even mention, oh, depressed. I don't even see myself or remember myself going to my mom and say, Mom, I'm depressed. Because I didn't even know
Right.
what it
Right.
was. It was just, I'm sad, maybe because I don't know, I didn't do
Right.
anything good or whatever. But like really, really, and thank God today we can see some changes. And of course, it's related to different
Mhm,
factors. But back in the days, because I'm like old
mhm,
school, like
mhm,
90s
mhm,
people, and like right before the Gen Z generation. I remember growing up in that generation, we were
mhm,
not talking like about it. And thank God today we've been kind of
mhm,
saved, because just like I say, with all those social media
mhm,
things, the internet, it's kind of like open topic that people can talk
mhm.
about it. Even like a lot of people from my generation today, we got to learn more about mental health, mental issue, and all these
Mhm.
things as we're growing. But as a kid, I promise you, we're not talking about it at all. It was either, especially for those like me,
Yep.
Christian, it was either like pray or I don't know, take medicine and you'll be
Yep.
fine. That's it. And I remember one day I saw, I think it was on Facebook, someone was saying parents, like African parents, can easily see a kid who is not doing good at school, but they have hard time to see a kid who's going through depression.
Mm. Okay.
And that is something real today.
Mm.
But yeah, thank God today we can see some changes. People are getting more aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true what you said, especially like the spiritual part, where in Africa, when someone has mental mental issue, they'll automatically say, "Oh, he must have." I'm gonna say in Lingala or language, "Asimi kisi."
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and that basically means
yeah.
that he
I'm gonna translate it. That
yeah
person touched
yeah
drugs. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
or he tried to do some mystical stuff and it didn't work, so that's why his head is kind of messed up. And I
Mhm.
think you definitely hit the spot where it's like it's really rooted into who we are as African, and especially as Christian. It's or growing up, our parents, they weren't taught mental health. So like, I mean, like even me, like I didn't know if someone was struggling. I didn't know it was mental health. I just thought like, oh, he's just crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's def.
And statistics show, if I can add to what you just said, today more than 90% of African
Mm,
people went through depression at some point in their lives. Like more than 90% of people. But I remember growing up in Kinshasa, back home in Congo, we used to say black people don't suffer from that, which is
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
Which is not true at all.
yeah.
When you go to Kinshasa, you can see on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
you see a lot of crazy people,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's not a demonic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they are sick.
Mm-hmm.
They are just sick. Their mind is sick. They need medical attention. Yes, medical
Mm-hmm.
attention. And as a Christian, I would like to add at church, a lot of people need to seek medical attention more than they need to seek prayer, intense
Preach,
prayer.
brother.
Yes, yes. A lot of people at church they need to attend psychiatry, I don't know, whatever
Yeah.
thing it, more than they need to spend hours and hours in prayer.
Mm.
And yeah.
But what do you think? What I kind of want to go deeper on this. Like, what do you think? We just tend um, to come. Well, I almost said in French. It's like we disregard that mental health even exists in as Christian. It's like yes, we know that God is Almighty, all powerful, and we just it's like you can't be mental health doesn't even exist. Like just go out and, if you feel sad, just go out and pray, God will fix you. Why do you think there is such I don't know how to ask, like why do you think Christian, why are we like that? I guess that's the better way to answer
Okay,
it.
I get the question, and this got like I remember the thing that you mentioned at the beginning. The I'll call that conference. I don't know
Yeah.
where I was one of the speakers.
Yeah.
I said something during that time is a lot of Christians today we read the Bible but we don't really understand the Bible.
Mm.
Like if I can explain myself, a lot of us would just read, but we don't really read. The reason why I'm saying this is when we read the Bible, we think the Bible is always about
Right.
spirits, Holy Spirit, Holy God. Yes, of course, but not only that. Also, Christian would think that spirituality and mental health cannot go along. That's wrong. And even more, we think spirituality and medicine cannot
Right.
go along. That is so wrong. Why am I saying this? In medicine, we use drugs, and those drugs are made of plants. Those planes that are like come from like
Mm-hmm.
on earth
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And we know God is the creator of
Right.
heaven and earth. And God is the one who created those
Right.
planes, which means God is the one who puts that call that little power on those planes to give ability to be healed when you
Right.
use them. Which means every time you think about, for those who think that you cannot associate medicine and spirituality or Christianity, that is
Right.
so wrong. And why are we like that? I can even like there are so many like lately. That's something that even myself I discovered like not long ago. I was like, thank
Mm.
God for this. And I saw in the Bible a lot, brother. I'm telling you, a lot of examples of
Mm-hmm.
mental health, a lot of example of things that were solved not by
Mm-hmm.
prayer, but just by some sort of mental like we're taking care of the mental
Right.
aspect of life. I can give you an example. Jesus himself, when he was about to get arrested, think about that story. At some point, Jesus told his disciples, "I want you to stay with me
Mm.
because my my heart is in
Mm.
trouble right now. I'm not
Right.
in peace.
Mm.
Just stop there." Do you really think it's what spiritual
No.
part of Jesus? No, it's the
Right.
mental part of Jesus. It was sad. He
Right.
was scared, and that is in our
Right.
mind. That's not the spirit
Right.
part of it. You know, Jesus wanted some kind
The
of
companion.
comfort from the disciples. Yes, and that is also something that is used in medicine, like the mental aspect of it, to cure, to heal those who are suffering from mental disease or issues. You know, so as a Christian, it's important to first keep in mind that you don't have to dissociate them. You can still put them together, but you just need to pay attention on when to use what exactly. Like find the right balance, because again, spirituality, it's not you don't have to dissociate them. They go together. And there are like I had so many examples in the Bible, like a
I
lot
got
of
one
them.
too.
But the thing is, we just need to understand. We just need to understand that it is not dear Christian. It is not a crime or a
Yeah,
sin
yeah,
whenever you feel depressed to feel like, okay, I need to go see a
yeah,
doctor. It is totally normal because your mind is sick and you need to go and seek attention for that. So yeah, why are we like that? It's because we I'm not attacking us because thank God I'm a Christian. If I was not Christian, people would be like, I ain't saying that
right.
because he's not Christian. No, I'm a Christian. I know how the way we say things, it just sometimes we tend to over spiritualize things when we don't have to. When you just need to talk to someone, sometimes it's a professional and sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to be a professional like a doctor to feel good and take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
So I think it's just because Christian we tend to over spiritualize things when we don't have to.
Yeah, I really like you did say something about, or you touched on something. You said that we feel like mental health is a sin. It's like I read you somewhere. It's like if you as a Christian, you said that you're having mental health issue, that maybe you're not praying enough, or you're sinning. I feel like that's one of the reason why people sometimes are openly, be more open about mental health as Christian. It's
Mhm.
it's also because you say like they we over spiritualize things, and we think that if I'm struggling mentally, whether having some type of anxiety or depressed, that you're not praying enough. And I think it's just important to find a balance. And I love that you brought up the story of Jesus, but I also have another story. Even Job, when you read the story of the story of Job, he lost everything, and I think that he had a shock. He was going through it mentally, because he even when you read it, you can tell like he was really, really, really depressed. And what happened is, he had one of his friends who came, well, I guess some like his friends came to talk, to kind of comfort him. And I think it's important that to kind of to have that community, like around you, like to have people that you can be open to. Even as Christian, sometimes God brings people to our life for a reason. And yes, prayer can help, but especially having family, friends, people that you trust, that you can be open up, that you can open up yourself to, where you can be vulnerable. I think it's really important too.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, and my the other question that I had, I feel like we kind of like went fast, but like, what do you think is still really hard as men for us to be open up about mental health, especially today?
I'll say there's a lot to say about that, but it's okay. It mainly comes from the culture, the background culture, because we know, especially for us African, we know that as a man, you are the provider. As a man, you are the strongest person in the household. As a man, it's something that you learn like from day one. You need to be strong. You need to be tough. A man cannot cry, cannot show you emotion. The hardest thing about it is first of all the way they raised us. And I'd like to say I don't really blame my parents or our parents in
Yeah.
general, because it's something that they also received from their
Right.
parents, who also received from us. It's like a
Generational
generational
thing. Yep.
thing. And yeah, definitely. So at the same time, I'm not really blaming them, because I'll say they are also victim of it. And today, even themselves, like growing up, it's something that since they didn't know a lot about that, they didn't know how to face that reality. They were just like, okay, that's the way they raised me, which means maybe it's just how it should be, that which is wrong. So why is it so hard? It's because first of all, we learned that from our parents. That's the thing we're exposed to. Like the first thing, like early childhood, that was the first thing we're
Right.
exposed to, and that kind of what makes it difficult, even for some people today, because I bless God for what He has done for me, like throughout the years right now. But I can see sometimes some of my friends, people I grew up with, like I'll look at them and be like, we're all raised at the same place at the same time, but today I was able, by the grace of God, to learn something and to and learn some things that were totally wrong. But when I look at them, not to judge them, but I can see they still think the same way. Like I don't know. I'll give it a simple example. For example, like back in the days, they used to tell us, and I know a lot of people like back in Africa, our grandparent they didn't like our grandmother mother to work to have a job because for them it was as a woman you just need to be at home take care of kids. Was it good? Was it bad? I don't want to say anything about it, but it's something that was deeply like rooted in our culture because back in the days that's how things should be. And the more we're getting exposed to nowadays, like the system and all that, you see that it's like women they have more right. We are equal. They talk about I don't know, parity or whatever. Like all of us, we are equal, same rights, same paycheck and everything. But even today, some people still think that it's not right. They should not have the same right as us. They learned that from the past, from their past experience. That is something really bad. So I would say it's mainly because of the education, like the way they raised us. And of course, today you can still change, you can still and learn things. But for the majority of us, like today, our generation, like the 20s, the babies, if I can call them like that, it comes from there. And of course, for some other people, it's also come from the environment. So the family, when you leave your family, you go out to the streets because you learn a lot of stuff. You see bad examples, you have influence from the word and all that. So it's something at some point when it's so deep, like so rooted, it needs a bigger work, like an intense work to kind of like remove all those stuff. Yeah, I'll say it will be. It's mainly the main cause why today men are like we don't show. I mean, because I used to be like that. Like, thank God today I'm not like that anymore. But I used to be like that. I would have. I can't even tell you how many times I just wanted to cry, to like call my mom or do something like that. And then there was that little voice in my head say like, "Hey, you cannot do that. You're a man. You need to,
Man up.
yeah, make sure you don't show your tear." Yeah, and that was bad. That was bad because that is one of the things that led a lot of people to commit suicide or some bad things. And so yeah, that's I'll say. I mean, for me, it's basically for me as an African person, like grew up raised in that environment. I know it comes from that men like the majority, like more than 90%. It comes from that,
Yeah.
like what we were exposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely has to do with where we grew up. I mean, even I do see what what you said about things are a little bit different now, but you know, to me personally, it still feels sometimes like it's still hard to like I ain't gonna lie, like it's still hard to be vulnerable, like even to the people
Yeah.
around
Oh yeah.
you.
Same.
Like it's you still feel like you're supposed to hold everything in, like there's this saying in Lingala,
Yeah. And don't show it.
Mono Bali, elle a raté.
Dilate. Swallow it.
You just swallow it. For our listeners, that basically means it's a saying in Lingala. It means a man doesn't cry. It's basically you say like no matter what, no matter if things are going down, you just have to keep it together. You cannot show any emotions. And yes, things are a little different, but I still feel like there's still progress to be made. I know there is progress made,
Oh yeah.
and I think especially for us men who live in developed countries where we are a little bit we came here, some of us grew up here, you kind of became open-minded to the idea that you
Oh
can
yeah. Oh
be
yeah.
vulnerable. But does that still happen to you? Like, do you still feel like sometimes, like, even now, like, do you still feel like sometimes, like,
Oh yeah.
you have a hard time to show your emotions when things are tough?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a scar. It's something that will not for some people, and I pray God, I'm asking God I don't want to be one of those people. I feel like it's the kind of things that will never really, really go
Yeah,
away. Which means even if 99.00000 like 9999 something, but you always have some little part of it because I'd say it's also because we are still
yeah,
human. We are not angels. and it's I think it's impossible as a human
Mm-hmm.
person to like change completely with like
Mm-hmm.
all the things just washed away.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like speaking for myself, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I can a lot. Like even with people around me, people I'm close with, like sometimes they be like, "But Daniel, why don't you talk?" I'm like, I'm trying. It's not that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. Sometimes I'll go be comfortable and talk
Yeah.
to them, but something that I realize it's in my head. I'm like, okay, I just don't want to look vulnerable. I'm like, I don't want them to see that I'm weak.
Yeah.
I don't want them to see that, even if it's okay, but I just don't want them to feel especially today. We all, like many of us, we have we kind of like mentors for some other
Yeah.
people. So for them to see you weak, they're like, oh, so you also have
Yeah.
weakness. And we, like, in my head, I feel like it's something abnormal, but it's not. It's something that is completely
Yeah.
normal. And you remember I gave you the example of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. Even if Jesus, I mean, even Jesus himself, he was full like with the Holy Spirit and everything, but since he was a human
Mm-hmm.
person, 100% has to go through that at some point. That feeling of weakness because it wasn't him. And I think as a man, I always have that thing. But sometimes I would like to be honest that I don't really like the way how can I say, the way I
Mm-hmm.
express it, because sometimes I just don't
Mm-hmm.
express it. And to be honest, I suffer a lot. Like, and every day I'm trying, like it's like a
Mm-hmm.
battle that with myself, that to get better at it, like communication, to open up more. And yeah, like even today, even like even if like I mean sorry, even though I'm able to go and talk to
Mm-hmm.
other people,
Mm-hmm.
help them like grow up and open up, but myself, at some point in my life, I'm telling you, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
human.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. Sometimes I cannot
I agree.
take it. Sometimes I'll just be in my room, cry, and don't want to talk to anyone because I feel like if I say it, maybe they might see it the wrong way. And yeah, so yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, thank God we made progress. Like
Yes.
5 years ago, I was not the man I
Oh
am
yeah.
right now. So yeah, it's something that we need to keep in mind is it's like a
Mm.
journey. Okay, don't always try to be perfect
Mm-hmm.
at once. For some people, it might take 20 years, and some other people, it can take 7 years or
Mm-hmm.
2 years. It depends on each other, like your own pace. And for me, I would say every 5 years. I was telling that to someone like 2 days ago that I realized that every 10 years in my life, there is like a big change, like every 10 years. And I can see like myself and look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, I was not the man I was 10 years ago. And that is true. So I don't know, for someone who's listening to this or watching this, you need to know yourself in order for you to make kind of like to notice every progress, because that is something that will really help you like a
Mm.
lot to progress, because it's like a check mark. You have like 10 weaknesses that you would like to
Mm-hmm.
work on. So it's like an exercise. I know it's maybe something that advice to give at the end of
Yeah.
the podcast, but I'm saying this right now because I might
Yeah.
forget. But yeah, it's something that I do myself and that helped me a
Yeah.
lot. Like, for example, me, I got to the US like six
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and I was able this year to make like a little, I'll call that, I don't know, like introspection of
Mm-hmm.
myself and
Mm-hmm.
see like the progress that I made. And I was proud of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
myself. 6 years ago, I was not able to do like such podcasts and talk
Mm-hmm.
like this
Mm-hmm.
in English. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
work on that. It's showing me that I was somewhere, and now I went from point A to
Mm-hmm.
point C. So even the smallest change, the smallest
Mm-hmm.
progress, you should not like just ignore it. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
something really big. It's something big.
Every win's a win.
Oh yeah, a
Oh
win
yeah.
is a win. A win is a win.
Because yeah, we always tend to ignore those small wins, but those small wins are usually the ones that make the most
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, and that's how you build like those big houses. You start
Small,
smaller and then go
smaller,
big. Yeah.
like brick by brick. That's how you make those big houses.
Hmm.
Do you
Yes,
do you
sir.
think that us as men that we have, is it easy for us as men to talk about our feelings? Because what I noticed is, even in my group of friends, we never talk about mental health.
Hmm.
We never talk about how we
Never.
like how we really feel. Like all the pressure, all the especially like in our age, like mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, like there's a lot of pressure. And I realized that we don't really take time to discuss those things. Like, hey man, like this is what I'm going through. Like I've got this, like we don't. So like Why do we not take time to sit down and just be open to, to our brothers,
Recently I was looking at statistics, especially African statistic, and I saw something really interesting. Is that there are more, I'll say it like that, crazy men than women. There are more, those psychiatric hospitals are full with mainly men than
Okay.
women. And when you try to make some research, the way those disease started, depression, anxiety, and stuff, it usually starts with like a little feeling inside you that you don't really open, and it's like you grow. It's kind of like a cancer. With cancer, when you don't when you don't take care of it like at the beginning, like the first stage, and you just wait, or you're not aware of it till like the last stage, that's where it gets worse. And for men, that's exactly how it works with depression, anxiety, and all those disorders. That's exactly what happened. It's mainly because for us men, we think that we can always, okay, just a little feelings. I'm feeling sad today. Maybe if I just drink, for those who drink, I'll just drink, or maybe just sleep, or maybe watch something funny, and then I'll be fine tomorrow. It might be, it might work, because that's sometimes what alcohol do to us. You'll drink it, you'll feel good for 6 hours, you go to sleep, and then tomorrow back to reality. The thing is, the feeling that you had yesterday, if it was this big, don't think that today it will stay the same size. You will grow and grow and grow and grow until it gets to the point where you cannot control it anymore and just explode. Back to what I was saying, it's for as African men, like myself, when I think about myself, my family, my father, like I'm 29 years old now, and when I think back, like when I was all the time I spent with my parents, I only saw my dad cry twice in my
Wow.
life, like twice. And I know some people here maybe they never seen like
Yeah.
the father's tears. I only saw like I think twice, or like maximum maybe 3 times. So yeah, and ever since, like it always looks strong to me, always like super strong. But I know he's not. I know he has a lot of things going on in his life, because he's a father. He has kids. He has a wife. He has a wife. He has a wife. Like I would like to emphasize that he has a wife. We know how women are. So it's stressful to deal with like a wife, kids, and all that, job,
Yeah.
provider. But the saddest part of it is, yeah, it's something that nobody was there to teach us, that you need to open up. And yes, even not just you, even with my friend, I remember one day I was talking to one of my friend back in Congo, and I don't know, I told him something really nice, sweet or something, and he looked at me, he started laughing. He was like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "That is what normal people do," and we just started laughing because we feel like it was not normal, but that is a problem. That is a really big problem, because we should be comfortable to talk to each other and say, brother, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling this type of way. I mean, just like I said, today we kind of we are seeing some little changes,
Yeah.
especially in the Christian community. We can see
Yeah.
each other go to someone and be like, okay, pray for me, blah blah, which
Yeah.
is good. But like back in the days, maybe not even like too far away, like maybe 10 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, it wasn't really that. But today, people are getting more aware of that, like mental health issue. And I would say this is the result of all those big campaigns, all those opportunity platform where people can talk freely about topic like this. This is really helpful, and that is, I would like to even thank you as well, Ben, for having us here. I mean, me here to talk about this, because that is exactly what people need to hear, especially right now. When you look at how it was 10 years ago and right now, we see a big difference, maybe not big, but a difference. And that is because people start to talk about it more
Right.
and more. If like 5 years ago, I had 10 problems, I was only able to talk about three of them. Today, I can talk about six of them. It's like a little progress, but there is still work to be done. And I would say, not just to you, to all those people who have this kind of platform, would like to do more of this kind of talking, please don't stop. This is a life saving thing. It's saving a lot of people's lives. It's really helpful, and it's sad. It's sad because, of course, me, part of it, we don't talk about it freely, but somehow we are able to see that there are some little
Right.
changes, and that is, we need to encourage that and keep working till we see a full like whole
Right.
change. So yeah.
When was the last time you like when you felt like in your heart you just had so much going on and you had to talk to someone, another brother? Like in the past 6 months.
I would say another brother, not really,
Okay.
but okay. I remember when I started medical school, because I didn't start medical school not too long
Okay.
ago. And that is something that I'd also like to add to the spirituality
Mm-hmm.
part of what we just shared, like at the
Mm-hmm. Of
beginning. Of course, evil spirits are
course.
real. Demonic attacks
Mm-hmm.
are real. And of course, sometimes it can be an evil
Mm-hmm.
spirit acting behind you, bringing depression,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that
Mm-hmm.
is real, but not always there. So myself, I found myself trying, like I was at the beginning, like stage of depression, like at the beginning of this year, because it was not depression, it was anxiety actually. Like I was so stressed. I was super, super, super stressed. And I just didn't know how to deal with that. Like I had a lot going on. I just got my degree in December, and then January I had to start medical school. So it was a lot. At some point I found myself crying in my room because I didn't know, like I was like, Lord, where should I start? What should I do? And that is where I would like to emphasize about the importance of having a good prayer life,
Mm-hmm.
spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. After I cried that day, I was praying at the same time, and I could hear the Lord telling me, "Okay, grab one of your," because I always have like those
Mm-hmm.
sticky notes, and He told me grab 10 of them and write
Mm-hmm.
something. And I was like, I wrote some stuff from them. He was like, write some encouraging word for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Like I'm smart. I'm gonna do this. God is with me. And he told me, okay, put them on your wall. So every time you wake up, that will be the first
Mm-hmm.
thing you see, and you say that to yourself. And he told me say it out loud. I did that, and when I did that, he told me, okay, that is not it. Now take your phone and call X person, and I called that person, and that was not even a boy. That was not a guy. That was also something I'd like to say here. It's of course we're talking about men mental health, but this should not just be limited
Of
to
course.
men. It can also, because we know a lot of people today, they're not just
Right.
surrounded by men. Because I know some people, they don't like the interaction they have with men is just
Mm.
professional. Beside their wife or maybe their sister or their mom, they are the only person that really
Mm.
trust. I would say it's more important to have someone that you trust and you feel comfortable with to open up. It's important to have at least one person, because that's what God did with me. It was like, okay, go call this person and talk to that person. That person didn't pray
Mm.
for me. We just talked. We talk, and after that, I feel great. So, when was the last time? It was 6 months ago. It was not a guy, but after that, because I also have like some
Mm-hmm.
close friends, like men, like here in the U.S. or back home and all that. So yeah, after that, I called that person. I also called like two of my friends, like my
Mm.
close friends. Fun fact is, I didn't really like directly tell them, "Hey, bro, I'm going through
Mm.
this time." I just called them. I was like, and we started talking. We started laughing, and we just started talking about
Mm.
challenges in life and blah blah blah. And I found myself telling him what I
Mm-hmm.
was going through. So it first started with me feeling
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with him, and then I was able to open up because he's someone that I
Right.
trust. And I did that with two people beside, like the third person was a girl, and so it was basically one girl and two
Right.
guy, like my friends. And so yeah, it was like six
Good.
months ago, and yeah, that was my own experience, and thank God it worked really
Right.
well, because after that, it was back in January. Ever since, I felt like I was under drugs or something like that,
Right.
because after that, that feeling didn't come back like anymore till now, and I thank God for
Praise
that.
God. First of all, I want to say thank you for opening up. I'm sure that was very difficult, for you to
Oh yeah.
express it. So I praise God that He got you through this. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, I love what you said in the beginning. Like, we don't have to separate mental health and spirituality. Like, we can literally put them together, especially us as Christian, we
Mhm.
can, whenever you feel down or you feel pressure, like prayer is literally one of the best medicine that, one of
Oh
the
yeah.
best cure to anything, really. And God has a way to combine our prayer life to the world around us. Just like you said, like you were praying, and then He told you write this thing down, and put it in your wall so that every morning when you wake up, that's literally what a those therapists will tell you these days. Like like tell yourself that you're beautiful, that you're capable. That's literally a part of therapy, and the fact that you combine it the fact that you combine it with your community, people that you trust. And I think that's mixing, that's really combining both world together. Like you just didn't separate. You just didn't say like, well, I'm gonna go find a therapist and not pray, but like you prayed and God used you, like
Plus,
guided
it's
you.
expensive, so
Yeah.
it's expensive. So
So like you can always,
I just get free therapy.
yeah, prayer is always there. God is always there, and God is gonna guide you to the direction that will help you.
And something that I'd like to add to this is talking about free therapy. At the beginning, you mentioned something like today when you say you are depressed and all that, people think maybe because you don't pray enough. I would say it's because you don't do the right things, like by separate I mean finding the right balance. I gave you my example about how God, the Holy Spirit,
Hmm.
led me to go through that
Hmm.
moment. Back to the Bible, you'll see that's exactly what God did with Elijah. He was going through depression at some point. And fun fact is, you can go and read that story of First King chapter, I think 19, if I'm not wrong. It told him, Elijah, what you doing here? Because Elijah was going through a tough time. He told him, what you doing here? It was like, oh Lord, I'm escaping because someone trying to kill me, blah, blah, blah. Look, and the fun fact, God told him, okay, first, he woke him up, he gave him food. And after that, he told him, okay, sleep. And then he came the second time again, woke him up, what you doing here? I'm going through this. He gave him food, and he told him, now, woke up, rise, and walk, because the road will be too long. And when you pay attention to that, you see that it's literally
Hmm.
therapy. He told him, do this,
Hmm.
do that, do this. And you see, after that moment, Elijah was feeling great. And that is exactly what it did to me. Because I told you it started with prayer. So basically, the first thing to do is to keep in mind that prayer should be, of course, the first option, but not the
Hmm.
last and the only option. Like everything should start with prayer. As a Christian, that is, I would say that is a big advantage that we have, and that is a free therapy. Like I didn't pay anything for that, because I promise you, I know a lot of people that had to pay a lot of money for them to go through what I went through and like feel the way I'm feeling right now. I didn't have to pay anything, and thank God, because we have the Holy Spirit in our life, and that is exactly what He do. Free therapy. You don't have to pay for that, and that is how it helped me to go through that moment. Because just like I'm telling you, it told me like step
Hmm.
by step, do this, do that, pray, and after that I felt great. So I would like to encourage someone, don't separate them, but try to find the right
Hmm.
balance by paying attention exactly to what God is telling you. That's why depression, as a human, it's normal, but it's bad when you don't pay attention to what God is telling you, or when you think about prayer as the last option, or you separate them. That is where a lot of people tend to get confused.
That was bars. You just dropped the mic, man. Let's just end it there. Let's just cut it. No, that was really good. Lots of wisdom. The let's say God speak in one way or another, and
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
the Holy.
And I'll say God speak a lot. God talk a
Oh yeah,
lot.
oh yeah, and the Holy Spirit. He's like you said, like he's the best therapist and also the cheapest one. So
Mhm.
we'll just we're just gonna go with that. We're gonna switch over to my next question. Like, what do you think that as Christian, as Christian, but also as a man, what are the things that we should do to get better at this, to get better at opening up to the people around us, especially those who are, let's say, like in a relationship. Because as men, sometimes you might have someone that you're dating, but you're not, you're struggling opening up. So, what are like the things that they can start like today to kind of get better at being more vulnerable and open?
I remember back in not even high school, like before high school, middle school, something like that. I was, let me be like, for transparency
Hmm.
purposes, I'll be honest today. I was not a best student. Like definitely, I was not like top 10 of my like in my class. Definitely not. And I was that kind of students that would get zero for assignments like several times in a
Hmm.
year. And fun thing was, those some days I'll be, because you remember we used to sit like two or sometimes three people in the same I don't know, I'll call it seats or whatever. Back in those days, I remember I had like those people were sitting next to me. Sometimes we have like an assignment or quiz or something like that. I'll find myself I got a zero or a bad grades. I'm the only person to have that bad grades, but both of my neighbor or just one of them, the only one who sit with me, has a good grades. I'll feel really bad. Not that I'm jealous, but I feel like I'm not good enough. But some other days, I'll have bad grade. Both of us we have the bad grade, and I don't know why it will make you feel great. It was like a weird feeling, like okay, since both of us we suck, so we could, and that is exactly how like the advice. The reason why I'm saying this is the fact that you keep in mind that all of us we should know that first, you are not the only person going through a mental health problem. It happens to everyone. Like it happens to everyone to fail. Just like I gave the example with having a bad grades. The fact that you are not the only person, because the reason why some people tend to feel some type of way, it's because they feel like if I have this, I'm the only one. It means I'm not good like them. Then I'm a failure. But since we know that some other people also go through that, we normalize it and we know. So it's if it's something that happens to everyone, it means
I'm not
I'm not a
weird.
problem. I'm not
Yeah.
abnormal person. Yeah, I'm not weird. Yes. So first, if I call that like that advice, I'll give people keep in mind that you are not weird. You are normal. The same way you can have fever, the same way you can have headaches, it's normal for you to have that feeling in your mind, which means it doesn't mean that you're weird. It just means you are human. That's what it means. The fact that you have that feeling of anxiety or depression or whatever, it doesn't mean that you are not human. No, it just means you are a normal person first. And a second advice that I'll give is first, when you realize that okay, so since I'm normal, other people are also going through this thing, it means if I go and open up about this, I'm not gonna look weird to those people because they'll be like, oh, it's something common to everyone. Because do you really think if I come to you and say like, oh Ben, I have fever, do you really think you look at me like, how do you have fever? It doesn't like it's not
Right.
normal. Why? Because you know it's something that happens to
Right.
everyone. So because I know that fever happens to everyone, I'm not gonna feel ashamed to come to you and open up to you and say, my brother, I'm having this issue. And brother, I'm telling you that is
Right.
normal. Keep in mind, because you have that problem, it doesn't mean you are not normal. No, it's totally normal. Which means you should feel comfortable and safe, because that's also another thing.
Safe.
People
Yeah.
don't feel safe. No, you should feel safe to know that you are not abnormal because you have that feeling. And also, you should feel safe to know that when you go and open up to someone, that person is not going to look at you weird. And I was saying earlier today, we are more aware that this thing exists. So like a lot of people are aware of that, which means when you come to that person that you trust and tell him, hey, I'm going through anxiety right now, that person is not going to look at you weird because like, how come you have anxiety? Because it knows that it is a normal problem for the mental
Right.
aspect of life. And for those who are in a relationship, especially, okay, we'll talk about those who are like, let's say, your fiance or whatever. As a man, it's mainly like it comes from because I'm a man. I know what I'm talking about, and I know it mainly comes from the to know that. Sorry, to know that it's a woman. So I cannot really open up to that person, and it's a feeling, but something that you need to understand. Of course, she's a woman. Of course, she's your partner, but it doesn't mean. I'll even say it's even a great thing that she's your partner. So she should be the person that you trust the most. She should be the person that you are more comfortable with. Remember, I was saying that it's because us as a man, we just have like too like a big pride. Like we're just too full of
Man,
ourselves. Like I'm a
preach.
man, I should not feel weak, and that is bad. That is bad. Like brother, a lot of us today we are getting crazy. We are suffering because of that pride. Bro, swallow your
Yeah.
pride. Okay? Just swallow it. Go drink some cold water or beer if you drink
Women of
beer
mine.
or whatever. Swallow that because the first person, the only person who's gonna suffer at the end of the day, it's gonna be you. So the first person that you should trust the most should be your partner. Of course, it might be difficult for you at the beginning because I don't know, it's the beginning of a relationship, you're trying to get to know each other, it's normal. But at the moment when you know that you trust that person, you are comfortable with that person, you should not be ashamed because remember, you are the only one who's gonna suffer more. Even if she'll be, because you know how women are sometimes, okay, babe, let's go through this together. Yes, but the pain, I'm the one feeling the pain. So you need to keep in mind that you'll be the one suffering the most, even if she'll be there like by your side. So don't feel ashamed. First, keep in mind that you're not gonna look weird because you are sharing something like episode, like anxiety episode that you are going through, because a lot of people are going through the same thing, which means you should feel safe because you're not the only one. There's a lot of us, man. We are going through that. And if there is a person that you should trust the most, I would say that's your partner. Especially if it's like, okay, I'm not talking about those entanglements or those, like
Situationship.
childish. No, I'm talking about, yeah, I'm talking about real like
Right.
relationship. Yeah, like where it's something serious. You go into marriage, like you have a real
Right.
goal. If you have that person, it's a blessing. Especially nowadays, you have a girl who's always there for
Mm-hmm.
you, talking to you, supportive, and all that, dude. That is just like I said. After the Holy Spirit, you have that girl. Free therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Use that. So it's definitely something that we should use. I know it's hard because even myself, like sometimes you're like, oh well, I'll feel weak,
Right.
but after that, I promise you, when you open up, you feel so great. And a lot of I would like to also mention that a lot of those mental health problems, they are not cured by medicine or drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they give what we call placebo, which is you think that you are getting a drug, but it's not a drug. It's just something that gives you the impression that you are getting something. But the idea is you'll be healed by just like daily life. They tell you, okay, get that placebo and then go and run, talk to your family members and blah blah. You think that, okay, since I'm getting this placebo, it's the one that is healing me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's just the fact that you open up and you feel comfortable with people. So yeah, that's like there's a lot to say about this, but I would like to just
Yeah.
stop there. And so
It's
yeah.
funny because it seems like the um, the best therapy is just talking to people. Just us get through this thing. Support each other, especially among friends. How can we support each other to be more open about our feelings?
I'll say to make it and to keep it simple, try to find, because it's all about communication. Like 90% of
Mhm.
mental health is healed by communication and feeling safe and feeling like you belong to a group, to a community. It doesn't need to be a big group. It doesn't need to be like a large, like made of thousands of people. It can be sometime,
Mhm.
I love that
Mhm.
that thing that said that quote that say, sometime home is a person,
Mm.
You don't have to open up to 5, 6 people. No, you just need to find the right people around you.
Mhm.
And once you find that, once you keep in your minds, like you really put that deep in your mind that you are not weird for having that feeling, you'll be able to feel comfortable among around those people that you can open up with. And I think that that's the best thing to do for mental health. Of course, as a Christian, start with prayer, pray to God, because that's where
Mhm.
everything starts, and then
Mhm.
listen, like be really open to what the Holy Spirit will tell you. But I
Mhm.
guarantee you, one of the things that it will tell you is go and talk to this person or that person, and it'll always be someone that you trust, you feel comfortable with. So yeah.
I 100% agree. Prayer should always be the first thing, and then from there you'll know what to do. The Holy Spirit will kind of guide you. And please, my brothers, please, I was listening to this. I want to say podcast, but not really a podcast. It was more of a. It's called The Dance King. Yeah, The
Okay.
Dance King. It's a show by this Christian artist. What's his name? Kirk's something. I think his name is Kirk.
Okay.
He's like a famous
Kirk
like
Franklin.
gospel. Kirk Franklin. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a famous gospel
Singer.
like musician, and he had this show where he had a group of like men, like actors, like athlete, and they were like in a round table where they were eating, they were talking, just stuff about manhood and some of the struggle they were going through. It was really interesting. It really opened my mind as to like men, like even men who are married are struggling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they have no one to talk to. And they were saying the same thing at the end, like, man, like I wish we can have more space like this for us men to open up to what we going through, because the truth of
Hmm.
the matter is our realities is different compared to women.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah,
like they also have their
definitely.
own thing they go through. us men will also have our own thing that we go through. So if I can say one thing, I just pray that we, my brothers, please, don't feel like you, and I'm saying that to myself, like don't feel like
Mhm.
you have to keep everything to yourself,
Yeah.
because we, as men, we feel like we have to carry the weight of the world in our shoulders. And when things are not going the way we plan, we feel like a failure. You feel like,
Mhm.
like I should have done this better. But like it's all part of the journey, it's all part of the learning process. So definitely, like, brothers, please don't keep things to yourself. You know, find someone that you're comfortable talking to, pray, and God will definitely, guide you to the direction that you want you to go through. So yeah, that was just my little speech that I had to say.
That was great. And that was great.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. Heading toward the end, but one of my last question is, what's one thing you've learned this year that helped your own mental health and spiritual health?
That is a good question. I would say something that I really learned. Sometimes it's stuff that you already know, but you just don't apply necessarily, or you
Hmm.
apply it the wrong way. But this year, I mean, it's only June so far. Something that really, I would say, saved my life, because I don't think I mentioned it when I was talking about like how it started for me in medical school. It's a place where a lot of people kill themselves because of depression. They go and commit suicide.
Wow.
So yeah, and I would say the thing that saved me was listening to God. Because remember, I said everything start. I'm not even gonna say prayer. I'll say everything start with God. The Bible said, first verse in the Bible said, at the beginning was
In the
God.
beginning, there was God.
And yeah, so the thing that I really learned this year, especially like after 6 months already, I would say the importance of listening to the voice of God, the importance of
Yeah.
trusting God, the importance of not just trusting God, but learning how to combine, find the right balance between your spiritual life and your, I would say, society in general life. Because personally, like based on my testimony, that is something that saved me. Because I don't know, let's say if at that moment when I was going through that time, what if I didn't? Sometimes I just sit and ask myself, what if I didn't listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit? What if I just didn't do what it told me to do at that time? I don't know, like, how would be the end result of this? So that is definitely something
Hmm.
that I learned this year, and the advice that I would give someone who's listening to us now. I promise you, God talk, and God talk a lot. That is something that I learned.
Hmm.
God talk a lot and every time. Like every single
Hmm.
time. Maybe, please God, maybe we will have one day another podcast to talk more about like the way God talked to us. But yeah, God talk a lot. And I'm grateful that this year I learned again how to listen to his voice, how to obey to his command to survive and be where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate that. All praise to God, and He's always listening, and He's always talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
What's one takeaway that you want people, especially Christian African men, to take away from this episode?
There is always a way out. There is always a way out. Don't think or don't feel like you are stuck in whatever you're going through. Don't criticize anybody else for what they're not doing for you. You need to keep in mind that the person who has the key for you to be out of this situation is you. It's yourself. You need to understand that no matter what you're going through right now, I'm not even mentioning God, I'm mentioning you, because you are the one who needs to realize that, make the move. And the interesting thing about this is the moment you make the move, you realize that God was already there, but you need to lift up your head and look at God and talk to Him. So the
Hmm.
takeaway from like this podcast is, please, brother and even sister, keep in mind that
Hmm.
there is always a way out. No matter what you're going through right now, there is always a solution. Don't kill yourself. Don't commit suicide. You are man. You are the head of the household and all that. You have the power and all that. But please keep in mind that you are not alone, and there is a lot of people around you ready to fight for yourself, for you, on your side, and help you go through this situation. So yeah.
Daniel, Danny, thank you for being here, bro.
Oh, of
Thank you
course, of course. Thanks to
for
you.
thank you for sharing so honestly and for being part of this conversation that
Of
was so
course.
long overdue. And if you're listening to this and you've been carrying a lot silently, just know that your pain is valid. You're not weak for feeling it. You're
Mhm.
human and you deserve help,
Yes.
healing, and support. I hope this episode be a reminder. We don't have to do life alone, and we don't have to carry the pressure of perfection. And
Mhm.
talking about what's real doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So if this spoke to you, share it with a friend, shoot me a message, or just take one small step toward checking in with yourself, and also make sure that you talk to God every day. So with that being said, thank you, brother. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you to you.
God
Thank you
bless
for the
you.
invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where can we find you, man? And what last word do you have before we stop this?
I mean, I'm always available. You can find me. I'll say at this point, I use every platform like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Just go type
Don't
Daniel Mvilla.
don't
Yeah. The thing is, I'm doing this on purpose because I always tell myself, if Paul was part of this generation, that's probably what I would have done. Because in order for us to go and make disciples, you need to go where you can find those people. And today we need to do with what we have. Today we have social media.
mm,
Today,
mm.
if I want to talk to you, I'm not gonna write you a letter. I'm gonna send you a text through a social media.
Send me a pigeon.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say a pigeon. Nah, of course not. So yeah, everywhere we still here. Like we are a big community, and that's our biggest strength. We are a big community there to help each other. So yeah, Facebook, WhatsApp. I mean, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever. Just type Daniel Villa Mvilla. You'll find me there, and I'll be glad to continue and share more about this. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye bye.